With whom the pleasure to talk with today?
You are speaking with Anna Maria Panunto.
Asante.
Nice to meet you, Enrico. I like your family name, Sinatra.
Thank you. Anna, are you an artist?
Yeah, I'm a creator. My artist name is Jagonda.
When you were young, did you understand that you already were an artist?
That's a very good question. I think creative people always know that they can create, right? And you can be an artist in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be in a given setting or anything like that. So one that I know that I could create, maybe grade 6, when I had to put together a poster with classmates, and I came up with some new ideas on how to create this poster, and then it won first prize. So I guess at that point, when I was 11, I knew that I could create. So I kind of like to describe myself as a creator. Yeah.
Okay, Jaconda, and when you were around 14, 18, what was your, where you decided to go to study? How was the relation with your parents? You said to your parents, hey, I want to be an artist and I want to be called Jaconda. How these little things happen?
So when I was 14, I wrote my first poem. So I would say that my first creative channel or medium would be poetry. I wrote my first poem as a teenager. You know, it was about heartbreak, and I shared it with friends. And then it just continued from there on. And I continued writing poetry, I would say, a good 15 years after that. I even published poetry booklets. We used to call them chapbooks in the days, in the late 90s, and shared it with friends. I attended lots of panel discussions with other artists. I was part of the Italian Canadian community.
Panel discussion.
Yeah.
This is the first time an artist told me there was in a panel discussion.
Yeah, I was in a panel discussion actually in New Hampshire and Maine among Americans. I was invited there, and I was also invited to be a workshop leader. This was in 1999.
At which age?
I was in
More or less.
1999. I was almost 30.
Okay.
Because I want to focus on my poetry life, because it took up a lot of my life. Like I would say, it started when I was 13, and I just consistently continued writing. And then in my 20s, I started publishing.
When did you start to publishing?
My 20s.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, how was the relationship with the publisher at the time?
Well, my first publisher, believe it or not, was McGill, because I was studying. Yeah, I was studying English literature, but I was part of the big women's movement back in those days in the early 1990s. We all fought to have a minor in women's studies. Now people have master's, PhDs in feminist studies. It's not a big deal. But back in those days, in the 90s, we had to fight. So I was part of that movement.
So thanks to you, now finally we're gonna have PhD about feminism. We can say that, right?
Yeah. The only thing is, there weren't many Italian straight women in that movement. So I felt a little bit, because I was white, I was European, I was straight, but still, I was part of that movement. I'm sorry. So I published my poetry with McGill. And then later on, I discovered a small publishing house located in Ontario called Poets Podium. So there I was doing reviews of other poets.
And you would start to work with them?
No, just free. Everything was free.
And it was free at the time?
Yeah, I was a new teacher. You know, I had just finished my degrees and I was teaching, but I was volunteering. And even Poets Podium, it was, nonprofit organization.
Yeah, but
the good thing about Poets Podium was that not only did they publish sometimes some of your poetry, they would feature some of your poems, but you also had the opportunity to publish poetry chapbooks, and you had the opportunity to also review other people's books. So that was fabulous. And this is how I met a man named Dr. Frank Anthony. He lived in the States, and so he would put together these big conventions once a year with his wife, and he lived in Vermont, and so he invited me to be one of his to be part of his panel, and to be a workshop leader representing Quebec. He found that very interesting because he was very impressed in the way I reviewed his book.
So you represent the feminist movement of Quebec on that moment.
Yes, and also the Italian, that whole Italian Quebecois identity. Yeah.
All everything.
But yes, back in the 90s, everyone knew me as Anna the feminist, Anna the womanist, Anna the, Today, Gioconda. Gioconda. Yeah.
And sometimes artists have difficulties with collaboration.
The thing
can you say something about collaboration?
Well, okay, it depends now. Let's focus on me as a poet back in the 90s. You work independently because you have to write the poetry. You don't share. I mean, you could co-write poetry with someone else, but I didn't do that. So I wrote on my own, and then I would market myself, if you like, by being part of some poetry, spoken word poetry events that took place, and I discovered Poets Podium. But you work on your own. So do you collaborate? Yes and no, not really. But people were back then were very open to young artists, right? So, but this is just from my perspective. The doors opened for me from like unexpected places opened the doors for me. I never would have anticipated that a place called Poets Podium existed back then, right? So I was like really focusing on the Italian Canadian community or the Italian Quebecois community, whatever you want to call it. But doors open from unexpected places, like Poets Podium, like Dr. Frank Anthony from the States, So I feel blessed about that I was able to venture out in unfamiliar places and market myself and express myself as an Italian Quebecois feminist of those days, But, the label feminist, maybe, do I identify with it today? I guess today you would call me a humanist, right? Because all I wanted was to be able to express myself regardless of gender, right? As long as what I have to say is meaningful and supportive and inspirational, my voice should not be silenced just because I'm a woman. So that was my stance back then, and it still is today. Everyone has the right to speak, right?
Everyone has the right.
Everyone has the right to speak. The point is that not everyone has the courage to speak when they have to speak, because sometimes you just feel oppressed, or you feel intimidated, or you feel like, why should I bother? Nobody cares. That's the big thing. To speak when you feel that nobody will care because you're not powerful, because you don't have any money, because you don't have any status. So what do? You just keep your mouth shut because no one cares? No, you still speak. So I've been in that situation. I still am. I'm not powerful and I'm not rich, but I still speak.
That's amazing, because I mean, you're bringing a huge mindset. Because those are really many people, many artists, sometimes they don't want to speak because they are not famous enough in your mind. And this is mindset, this is some block that they put to themselves. So your mindset is very strong because you fight
until the end.
Until the end. That's it. We can
until the end. Until the end. And I have some years where it's very depressing, where it's very discouraging. But then I always pick myself up. So a message to the young generation, because you had asked me to focus on that as well, the young generation of today, because those were the 90s. But what about 2025?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is your secret source of energy that cheer you up?
For me, it has been that when I'm down, that's when I create. So when I'm down, it's create time. Create time. So it's either I write poetry, or I write plays, or I write short stories, or I paint. It's my downtime. And sometimes so far in my lifespan, because I am in my mid 50s, sometimes it would take years of writing, just writing, years, you know, writing, presenting, writing, presenting. Uh, so it's not that I'm like in a hermit mode where I'm just writing and not seeing people, but I'm writing and I'm presenting to people. And I'm down, but people don't know that I'm down because I'm creating. So they say, how can you be down if you're creating? Because when I'm down is when I'm inspired to create. So some people don't understand that. When I'm happy and fulfilled, I'm living life. When I'm down, my soul is contemplating the pain, the loss, everything, so I can share it with the world. So that's how I operate. Everyone is different, right? So maybe you operate differently, but this is how I operate. When I'm down, I create. So it's
That's
positive. It's win-win, right?
Yeah.
Because then when I'm up, I'm living life. So it balances out. It's win-win.
Yeah, when you're happy, I go party.
That's it. I enjoy life. I don't create. So that's fine.
And when I'm not party, I'm working.
Exactly.
Make me work, make me happy. So
That's
after
it.
I work,
There's
I'm
a
happy.
balance. Yeah, there's a balance.
Do you think it was easier? Do you think artists work harder today or in your time when you were 20s?
Many people have asked me this question. It's
Yeah.
funny. People always ask you that question as you get older. This is an indication that you're getting older.
No, this is an indication because no, this is not an indication. I ask this question to even the young people.
Well, they can't compare. The young people can't compare.
Yeah, but they can say, but
yeah,
we don't know the answer.
Well, listen, I was a young adult in the 80s and the 90s. Those were my decades, right? And then the early 2000s too. I give people the same answer: positive, negative in every generation. Okay, there's no better, there's no worse. I remember my parents telling me, back in my day, and they would really exaggerate, and I really don't want to be that type of mature person where I exaggerate and make younger people feel badly. I don't want to do that because it was done to me and it annoyed me. So, good and bad. What's the good in today's generation? Technology, right? Technology
We're
is
doing an interview here, camera, light. It's very easy.
Everywhere.
Small
technology,
microphone.
AI. So you can create in a multitude of ways. However, there's more competition.
Yeah.
There's more competition, and you have to be at the right place at the right time to get that exposure. So now the big thing is TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Facebook is for the old people. That's what the young generation tells me. They say, Anna, you like Facebook. It's for the old people. I love Facebook. I'm active on Facebook. I have many followers on Facebook. Am I active on TikTok? No. Do I feel comfortable doing TikTok videos? Not really, but I'll check. There's something to learn. There's something to get from TikTok. Instagram, okay. Like, I'm more of a YouTube, Facebook type of person. I really enjoy listening to podcasts, watching podcasts.
And I give you a tips. In reality, this is a huge circle. There are a generation of Facebook, but then there is now the new generation. It's coming back to YouTube, and then the next generation will come back. It's a cycle.
It's cyclical. It's cyclical
because they are in competition to each other. So couple of years, one won the competition, another year someone else won the competition, but
but there's more to it.
Yeah.
There's a reason why TikTok is so popular among youths. You know why? Because it's fast.
Yeah, extremely.
1 minute, 2 minutes. So back in the 90s and in the early 2000s, we took our time to listen and to watch. We didn't get any satisfaction from 1 minute or 2 minutes.
No.
We enjoyed long interviews. So the mindset, use this word a lot, is fast. Let's go. Get my attention. Visual. We're very visual as a society now.
Yeah.
Get my attention, not with your words. Get my attention with your visuals and be different. So, oh my God, there's a lot of competition, So that's the bad. I feel my heart goes out to those young artists in today's generation that are shy, that don't feel comfortable promoting themselves on TikTok, that have a lot to say, but they're not exposing themselves because they don't feel comfortable
And they
using.
shoot their mouth.
They shut their mouth. So I believe there's a lot of artists out there that we don't know about that are hiding, right? So what I do, because I'm also a teacher, is whenever I see a young artist, because I can intuitively feel when someone is artistic and I feel that they're shy, I try to pull them out of that shell and find ways to give them confidence. Because to me, those are the real artists.
So, until 30, you were a
Poet,
poetry.
poet,
A un certo,
and
you're
short stories.
short stories.
Yeah,
You were a writer.
correct.
At a
Correct.
certain moment, you start to write theater, you start to write painting. What's happened?
It just happened like that because I have a bachelor in English literature and I really enjoyed reading plays. Yes, I enjoyed Shakespeare, but I also enjoyed reading other plays. And how this came about, me writing a play, was I wanted to do something for my late father. His 5-year anniversary of his passing was coming, and I had written a sketch of a play back in 1999. And at that time, I was living with him for 1 year because my parents divorced after 26 years of marriage. And so at one point, I lived 1 year with dad. And I wrote a short little play called At the Dinner Table. And Estelle Rosen from McGill University, she had the McGill radio station. She aired it. So she directed it and she aired it as a radio play in 2003. So
Wow.
that was like, wow, I was so happy. But it was in its skeletal form, And I remember my dad listened to it, my mother too. He was like, yeah, it's nice. But that play, I was writing it the year that I was living with him. And then I still had it. I still had even though it was an old document, I still had it, the transcript. And I'm like, oh, I need to do something with this. Let me transform this into a real play. So it didn't just happen like that. I was doing it step by step, every 2 years, every 3 years, every 4 years. Then I reached 2021. And I said, okay, the end of 2021, I said, this is going to be a full play. I'm going to do it. And it's going to be a tribute to dad. It's going to be semi-biographical, not fully. It's going to take place in 1979. I chose a year that was older. I really liked that year, 1979, because it's the year right before the information society, before technology came about, the information age, sorry. So it was an important year in Quebec also. And I added some real life events that took place in Quebec in 1979, 1980, the information age. I created the character Antonio, which was my father, Mariana, which is my name reversed, and there you go. It sold out both nights. I took a big risk because I staged this play at Casa d'Italia in May, actually, of 2022, while we were in and out of lockdown.
Yeah.
And all my actors at some point had gotten COVID. So it was like, okay, when is it Anna's turn to catch COVID? I didn't, luckily. And we were all afraid. What if we get sick? Gonna have to cancel? So
And you sold all the tickets.
yeah, we sold out both nights. We sold out both. It was a great success.
All about this. Many artists,
Mhm.
they create very good things as well.
Mhm.
They're very sometimes not talented in selling. Okay.
Yes.
Let's say not talented in selling. What did you learn? What is the secret for selling? Because sometimes we saw shows that are full, but they're not very well made. Film that are not very well made, but they sell very well. As an artist, what did you learn?
I think I have a lot to say about that
That's
because number
amazing.
one, I'm a female playwright. I'm a female playwright and I produced it myself. So no funding. It all came out of my pocket. That's number one. So the first play was good timing because nobody had the courage in those times to stage a play in and out of lockdown. La Casa d'Italia was also closed, and there were times when it was closed. So it was a risk. And it was good timing because in May of 2022, people were dying to go see something, live life a little bit. Half the people had masks on. So I took a risk. It could have gone the other way where lockdown or actors sick or me sick, and that's it, canceled. The second play, I did not succeed so much. And the second play, I even worked harder than the first play. And this one was a semi-autobiographical. It was my story, and it took place during the early times of the coronavirus. So was it because people didn't want to hear about the coronavirus? I don't know. Was it that people were going out now and they didn't care to go watch a play because I staged it in September 2023? My actors were not as motivated to sell tickets, as the first play. So in the first play, I was doing marketing via social media, everywhere. Because when you're producing and staging a play and it's coming out of your pocket, you do everything you can to sell your tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, I had many free tickets too to some people, but I had to get sponsors and my actors, both plays, they didn't get paid. It was non-unionized. And so it was a labor of love on their end. You know what it's like to have rehearsals, to practice. It's a lot of work from the actors, right? Nobody's paying you. All they got were 4 free tickets for me. That's it. That was my gift. And a dinner and some lunches, and that's it.
No.
You know what I mean? It didn't pay the bills. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself because when you're co-directing a play, you're using your creativity in a different way because you wrote the script, the story, but now you're bringing it to life with this actor. And my actors were not professionals, I had a couple that were semi-professional, yes, but I didn't have paid professional actors either. And I don't look at that. I don't care if you're a professional. That's another thing. I don't label people. I can find someone, on the street. I'll be like, okay, he's a good fit for this character. Come here, And so I don't get, some people get bamboozled by, he's famous. He's a good actor. I don't give a shit about that. I gotta feel your energy and feel that you fit the character, right? But then again, I don't play that political game.
Then you need to convince them.
Yeah, and I did. I mean, my second play, they weren't professionals, and I ran into many challenges where some of the actors couldn't remember their lines, and I had to find ways. And nobody taught me that. I didn't go to school for this, but there was a sense of collaboration among the actors. They all helped one another because when you're doing a play, you're a collective unit.
Yeah.
It's not, she's the main actress, she's the star, she's good. It doesn't matter if the others suck. No. It's a chain. You all have to be good.
And how did you create this collaboration among
we had good moments for both plays now. We had good moments and we had bad moments. Because I have my flaws too. I'm the type that I want things a certain way. And sometimes I'm not flexible. Okay? So I didn't know certain things. And in the first play, I learned, wait a minute, there's this way that you can look at and the way you could do the scene. And then there's another way, and then there's another way. Look at the 3 ways and then judge. Instead, in my head, I was very narrow-minded. This way, that's it. No, that's wrong. So I learned, I was humbled. So I took that knowledge with the second play. With the second play, the lesson that I had to learn was not all your actors are going to promote your play the way you want. Some are just there. I'm here, I'm your actor, I'm doing the job, leave me alone. It's your job to sell the tickets. So they weren't part of that collaboration, you know? And then at the end, they were able to bring in a few people. But my second play, I went from the first play, 170 to 160. And the second play, also 2 days, I had about 70 and 60.
But it's not bad.
Oh,
It's 50% less, okay.
Oh,
it's
I lost a lot of money.
You lost lots of money,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Because
that's
maybe you
it.
spend more money as well.
I even marketed myself, at a radio station. Yeah.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, for this reason, we are doing this interview. Because there are better way to get money for your second. There were many things, many other artists sharing with me other things. Probably
Well,
if I will do this interview 5 years ago,
be different.
yeah, you will have the knowledge and I can connect you with the artist with the right knowledge to make your second play better. As well, this I'm learning with all these interviews.
Yes and no, because I find the young people are very resourceful, and we have lots of theater places here in Montreal. But I really wanted my place to be at Casa d'Italia. For me, it was very important, the
Why?
venue. I don't know. To me, it felt like my home,
Okay.
you know? And I have a certain style. Like, I like my tickets to be professional. I like to have my booklet when people come in. I like to serve people coffee, wine, cheese. I have a certain mentality. I can't do something cheap, you know? So I'd rather be broke, but have a nice presentation. So both plays, people had a nice presentation. They had some snacks, it was classy. So if I have to go back and do it again, I would do it again the same classy way. But the young people, they're very resourceful, they have other ways of doing it. But is theater dead? That's the big question in Montreal. So many people will say theater is dead in Montreal. My painting journey started a long time ago when I would buy old paintings from flea markets, and I would what they call shading. So I would buy, let's say, a beautiful painting that was a bit faded, and I would color it in and bring it back to life.
Nice. Do you have someone here?
No,
You
I
saw
gave
them.
them all. No, I gave them all away, and so I did that for years and years and years. Then when did I create my first painting? 2021 was when I created my first painting. It was very amateurish, and then I just continued using acrylic and oil and mixed media. And what I would do is I would paint, and then and if I didn't like that, I would paint over it, and then I would paint over it. So that's my style. Doesn't mean it's
Because
everyone's.
you do abstract.
I do abstract mostly, but I do a lot of layering. And it's almost like my creations go through phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And sometimes it looks like the final phase of that actual painting will never come, but it does. So I moved after 20 years of being in my apartment, and I had to make a big decision about my art because I had created over 100 canvases. So in a span of 2022 to 2024, this is not only like 2 years, I created 100 paintings. It was almost like manic.
That's amazing.
And I had 2 art exhibits. I had one at Casa d'Italia, and I had one at a restaurant in Mile End. The first one, it always seems to be that way. The first one was a success.
Casa d'Italia, it's a place to go.
The first art exhibit, yeah.
The first thing you need to go is to Casa d'Italia. Then you need to reflect a lot for the second.
Yeah. But it was nice. I had an assistant. She was very helpful. Again, I spent a lot of money putting it together. Then I had wine, cheese. When people walked in, it was so nice. We had some background music. But the first art exhibit, I had 40 canvases, and then I had 50 painted accessories. So I had painted vases, plates. So I had the whole section was full because of
In
Casa
Casa d'Italia.
d'Italia.
Okay.
It's not the theater hall. It's next to the theater hall. You have this open space and it's huge. I filled it
It's
with all my
huge. Casa
artwork.
d'Italia, it's huge.
I
You
filled
know?
it up with all my artwork.
Wow.
So when people walked in, they had this nice uh, sort of like a mini portfolio of me, and they signed. It was really lovely. Yeah, it was like a dream come true, my first art exhibit. Then the second one, I tried to be more funky. I had a DJ there, but the second one was not a success.
You didn't sell.
Oh, I sold only 2 paintings. It was
Because
a
this is a
disaster.
restaurant. I believe a restaurant is a good place to sell.
It was good because the restaurant in the back had all the space for me. And no, it was perfect. So people were able to go eat if they wanted to, go in the back. And I also collaborated with another friend who was selling her jewelry. So they were able to buy a painting, buy jewelry, go eat, and it's in the heart of Mile End and listen to music. Are you kidding? A live DJ? No, it was bad timing. I did it last year in March.
Because of Italy, which month?
I did it in June, the
So
year
maybe
before.
June. So June is the month to sell more art.
I don't know. Anyway, so that's my experience. And now I've reduced my artwork to maybe, I have maybe 30 pieces.
So you. Mm.
Yeah. So when you look at the painting after your creation, you go, wow, this is my soul. This is a fragment of my soul that is expressed visually.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed that men really appreciate my artwork and see a certain depth to the artwork more so than women. I find that interesting because I kind of expected the opposite for women to see beyond, but men see beyond
Wow.
the visual. Because like you said, I do abstract. So abstract is, well, I mean, it's your perception. It's what you see, right? It can really.
Do you remember anything special someone say to you?
Well, I was very lucky because for my exhibition #1, we filmed it. I have 2 videos, 2 actually. I had a student of mine who did a review, 2 students that did a review, one in Arabic, one in English. I also had an American friend do a review who did not attend the art exhibit, but he just followed me on Facebook. And another man who is a writer himself, who published actually my first poetry book, not Poets Podium, but another press in Ontario. And he wrote a review. So it hasn't gone ignored.
The network is important.
It hasn't gone ignored. No, the network is important. And like I said, the support, my theme has been the support comes from unexpected places and people. So my advice to the young people is be open to receive support from all parts of the world or all people. Sometimes that person sitting across from you, whom you think may be insignificant in your life, may play a fundamental role in your artistic world.
Wow.
So don't dismiss anyone and don't say, oh, this person is in the art world. Like, for example, this woman owns an art gallery. She can help me. Enrico works at ABC Enterprise. What does he know about art? No, maybe the lady who owns the art gallery won't care about you. But maybe Enrico, who works at ABC Enterprise, actually is an artist himself or maybe has a brother who's an artist, or maybe has a wife who's an artist and has a connection, and he can help you, not the lady who owns the art gallery. And you would have never expected Enrico at ABC Enterprise to help you. So this is the best advice I can give in my 55 years of life. Help comes, support comes from unexpected places and people. That's it.
That's amazing.
Okay. All right. When we create, and it took me a long time to learn this, and I'm still in the process of learning, so don't think I'm not out of the learning yet, okay? When you're creating, when you're an artist, most creators create with a purpose. They express with a purpose. So they want validation for that expression. It's like, I created this and I want to share it with everybody. Do you like it? So every creator wants people to like it, or the majority to like it. And of course, the creator wants the people that surround him or her or them to help express. Say, Anna, I love Anna. Anna's my daughter. Anna's my wife. Look what she created. We are so proud of her. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Nobody will care in your immediate circle. Like, well, why you waste your time painting? Why you waste your time?
Do poetry,
My mother told me, look at all
feminism, these things the woman wanna protest.
Yeah, my mother said, look at all the money you wasted on those plays. You know, what did you get out of it? So that's a big question. Not only my mother, but some people have commented, what did you get out of it, Anna? Like, why was it worth it to get in debt for that?
Yes.
I mean, don't you want to enjoy your life? Now you're in your 50s. Why don't you travel? Like, you take that money and travel. Why did you? So they didn't understand that it, for me, in my 50s was the time to actually invest, even if it was a loss, in my artwork and express it. Because for me, it was now or never, right? I taught, I'm still teaching, but I dedicated all my energy teaching, right? And I was like, no, this time period, I'm going to be so fruitful, so productive, that I'm going to do in 5 years what I didn't do in 15 years. And I succeeded in that part.
That's amazing.
I'm 55 with all these life lessons, but I can meet someone who's 25 who's even more evolved than me, who will create without validation, right? So the thing with creators, there's really no age. I'm using age as a reference point to my own evolution, but create with no need to be validated, just for the love of it. You are a creator, you make a difference by creating, by expressing, because there's some form of love in every creation. Even if you create out of anger, out of hate, deep down there's a love, that stems from the hate, because you want it to come out, to express it. So that's it. Create without the need for validation. And what matters is that you value what gift the universe gave you to manifest. Because that has no money, that has no monetary value, really. Whenever we sell an art piece, it was very difficult for me in my first art exhibit. How do you know what price to put on your painting?
Double. That's my advice to every single artist.
No,
you
the
think
way
about the price, just double it.
You see, I maybe I made a mistake, maybe not, but my first art exhibit, the way I did it was I looked at the painting, I looked at whether it was acrylic, oil, I looked at how much I would pay for that painting for a novice artist. So like, I look at this piece, I don't know this artist, how much would I pay to support a new artist? So I kind of put myself in the shoes of the buyer in a very realistic way, because we are post-pandemic. You know, the cost of living has gone up, life is expensive. So what? You're an artist. Okay, very nice, you're an artist. But here, I want to sell you this cup, but I want to make it affordable. Because just like I like to get a good deal, I like to give a good deal. So I could have easily priced some of my artwork 3, 4 times more, but I didn't want to, because I'm like, if I give him a good deal or her, then maybe when I want something, I'll get a good deal, right? It's win-win, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Can I give you a hand?
No. No, you're very welcome. And I'm sick, so you're very welcome, and it was
Yeah,
a
sick.
pleasure. So support this guy. He's great. He really believes in us artists, and he tries his best to promote us.